Tonight's workshop is about painting a grasshopper on a pineapple plant. And the reason that I chose that subject for tonight's workshop is because I have a pineapple plant in my yard. You can see a couple of pineapples growing here. And on the pineapples right here, you can see a grasshopper. So I have tons of grasshoppers um, on my pineapples here. And so I thought, oh, it'd be so much fun to paint the pineapples with the grasshopper on it. Now, I also have some pictures of the grasshopper like this with a little more detail, right? And a way that you can find these images, so these exact images that I just showed you, is if you go to my website. So on my website, for the events tab, or if you're on YouTube under the community tab, my community tab, I have these pictures. So if you're not familiar yet with my website, it is here. Oh, let's see, website, right there. Dietz Art says dietzart.com. So if you go to my website there, then each week when I get ready to teach my classes, I will put up there's an event there. So an events tab on my website, and you can see what the class is going to be. As soon as I figure out what I'm going to teach, then I put it up there on the website. And so you can find these images that we're going to work from tonight on my website under the event tab or on YouTube under the community tab. Okay, so if anybody wants to follow along, the images are there for you to follow along. All right. Um, so I did do a couple of artworks in preparation for the class. I love the very loose type of painting, which is Asian painting. So when you're using your Asian brushes like these, right, those are the types of, I just love working with Asian brushes and rice paper and the effect that I get when I do that. But I also, or you, if you want to follow along, can also use regular watercolor brushes. I would use something like this, right? A round brush like this. I'm going to show you how to hold the brush when we get over top of the table. And by holding the brush in the way that I do my Asian brushes, you can get a similar effect. Okay. It's not going to be exactly the same because these brushes hold a lot of water here in these natural hairs, but you may be able to get something similar if you want to follow along. So I did some I like the more loose type of look that I can often get with these brushes. I have bigger brushes and I have even bigger still brushes when I'm doing large paintings like this, right? Big ones. Um, and then they go down to teeny tiny. So here's one for the detail, right? One of the detail Asian brushes there. And so I'm going to show you a couple of the pieces that I made in preparation for this class, but I was using Asian brushes and drawn rice paper, which is very traditional, but also watercolor paper. So this is one that I did on watercolor paper. Uh, and so it's more loose, right? It's not detail. I'm not looking in this class for detail. I'm looking for getting the idea across, okay? So this is one that I did on watercolor paper, but using the Asian brushes. And then this one is playful grasshopper. So instead of just using the traditional black ink, the black Asian ink, I also incorporated some Chinese watercolors. So these are what Chinese watercolors look like here. This is a set. The company that makes it from China, I mean, they've been making it forever. It's called Marie's Chinese watercolors or Chinese colors. And these are the kind of colors that you can use on your rice paper. They're designed to use on the Zhuan paper, but you can also use them. I use them here on regular watercolor paper, so that is fine. Now, another format that they come in is, as opposed to the tubes, is these are called pans like this. So this is a Sumi ink version from Yasutomo in the pans. All right. So you can get the colors in those two formats, in the tubes or in the pans for use on the Juan rice paper. For doing it on watercolor paper like this, y'all can use any watercolors you want, okay? That'll be fine. You can use any types of watercolors. I'm going to take you through the process and teach you how to hold the brush because that's the trick in Asian brush painting, also, is the way that you hold the brush. So, this was done with Asian brushes, but on watercolor paper. And I was using the Asian paints as well, but you can use just regular watercolor paints. So you can see here, I was using the stroke method for creating this grasshopper here on my, that this is the reference picture I used for that I showed you before was this one, right? Ah, there he is. So you see green here turning into yellow and kind of brown here. So that's what I used as my inspiration to paint this. And then I grew up in Taiwan and I studied Chinese calligraphy when I was in high school. And so this is playful grasshopper right here. So put the grasshopper here and left plenty of space here. That's a consideration if you want to write poetry or you want to do practice characters, um, calligraphy or something like that. Make sure you leave yourself some space to do that. So that's what I did. And this says playful grasshopper. Now, the next is a pineapple that I painted. Um, these are to give you some ideas of what it is that we're going to be doing tonight. So this is Schwan rice paper here. And so this was just a quick rendering in order to get a feel for what the imagery looks like, right? So this is using these images that are available on my website or on the YouTube community tab. Then I painted this using the Asian um, Marie's paints, but on the lighter rice paper. And I like the way the colors sort of blend and move on the rice paper. After you do a painting on rice paper, if you like it, then you mount it on a heavier paper. And then that's when you can put it in a frame, which I love because this kind of rice paper is really inexpensive. So you can just do lots and lots and lots of practice. And then if you get a piece that you like, then you can mount it and have it ready to go into a frame. So this is one of the ones that I was practicing with the color. And then this one right here, this is when I started uh, experimenting, practicing with my pictures of the grasshoppers. Okay, so you want to take a subject and paint it over and over and over again to get to what I call build up the muscle memory. So now I can just whip off a grasshopper because I know the elements of the grasshopper without needing to look at the reference anymore. And that's what this kind of practice does for you. So this was my first practice sheet, but you have to do it over and over and over and over. And this was my second practice sheet. So you can see as I got to the second practice sheet, it's like, okay, I'm beginning to get it. Right? Usually the first sheet is pretty crude, and then after that, they start to get a little more refined, right? And then at this was my first pineapple that I did with the color. And then I said, you know what? After working on these grasshoppers using the black Sumi ink, so that's what this is. This is Sumi ink, and that is a black Japanese ink or Chinese ink that'll be permanent on the paper when it's dry. And this is one of my favorite companies, Yasutomo. And so you can see here it says Sumi ink. And what is it? Black Sumi ink. And so that's what I was using here. So I said, you know what? I want to try doing the pineapple with just the black sumi ink. So um, what I like about the black sumi ink is that you can get all kinds of different gradients from gray, like light, light, light gray, all the way up to deep black. And so using that, I painted this one, which is just with the black, right? But if you look at it, you know exactly what it is. Oh, that's a pineapple. Cool. Right? And then I liked this one, so I put my seal on it. You see the little red seal? Oftentimes, when you see Asian paintings, there'll be one or more red seals on it. So this is actually my name in Chinese right here. And it's the what you put it on with is called a chop, and this is where my chop is right here. It's a piece of carved jade that's in a ring. So then I just take the ring off, I put it in the ink, and then I put it down on my paper. Isn't that cool? And then it can be, just washed the red can be washed out. But that way, you know, since it's chopped, you know this one's done. Now, it's still just on the rice paper, so I'm gonna have to mount it, and I've done videos before where I showed how to mount these paintings. So if you're curious about that, I'll see if I can remember to put the link to that in the description of the video for you. So if you, are going to follow along with me, this is the kind of paper. If you don't have the Juan paper, that's okay. This is the kind of watercolor paper that I use. So this is a regular watercolor. It's a or a cold press watercolor paper. And you absolutely can do this process on this. This is the Canson XL watercolor paper, and it comes in a pad like this, or my favorite is the spiral bound like this so that you don't lose your sheets, right? We're not going to be doing our artwork on the Canson XL watercolor paper. I'm not going to, but if that's all you have is watercolor paper and you want to follow along, then knock yourself out and just use watercolor paper, okay? It will work just fine. It's just you're gonna see as I go over the table and start applying the paint to the Juan paper, which is the next thing I'm gonna show you, it's gonna spread a little bit and it'll have some of its own properties to it, which is what I love about it. And it's just different from the watercolor paper. I actually like painting with both with these Asian brushes. So hopefully I'll turn you on to Asian brushes and you'll try them and fall in love with them like I have. Now on uh, various platforms, you can get this Asian paper. It's called Xuan, Xuan, Xuan paper. And ever since I was a kid, we always called it rice paper. I don't know why, because it's not made out of rice. But anyway, we call it rice paper. And this happens to be a pack from Japan. Actually, I have two packs here from Japan. And the trick to know that it's a practice paper or a thin paper is that you're going to find them in packs of 50 or 100 sheets, and it's going to be very reasonably priced. So that's how you know it's your practice paper. And that's what I was doing these grasshoppers on here is just practice paper. See, it's thin. And I'll show you some that's for finished artwork, which is thicker. But when you're practicing, you just practice on this thin paper. Even this is on the thin paper because I'm like, okay, I need to practice doing a pineapple and see how it turns out. So this is the kind of paper that I use for the practice. Let me show you one more. This is again by Yasutomo. And so this is called their Hanshi paper. It's in English right here, Hanshi paper. So Hanshi is the thin rice paper or thin Juan paper that you're going to use for practice. And you can see it's a huge pack here. Did it come with 100? I'm not sure. It doesn't say, but it's, yeah, 100 pack, 9.5 inches by 13 inches. So that's your standard practice paper. But if you make a practice painting and you like it, just mount it and it will become a finished paper. Now, if I've done a bunch of practice and I know I'm ready to paint a final painting, then I use this. Again, it's from Yasutomo, but it is they call it their sketch paper pad. But the kind of paper that it is this is the other one was Hanshi, Hanshi paper. This is Hosho, Hosho paper. And this is much thicker. So you can get Hosho paper from different companies. And this one, you see how white it is and how it's not nearly as flexible. So this is definitely thicker. And usually what I use for finished artworks is a Hosho type paper. And oftentimes you just look up calligraphy paper and you'll find it. Okay. So let me just set those aside for the moment. Let's see. No, I'm going to need to leave one here so I can pull sheets out of it. There we go. I'm going to use the Yasutomo Hanshi paper for when we go over top of the table. Oops. Let me take these and set them aside. Um, and then I showed you earlier already the Asian brushes. And then I also will paint with little cups. So these are little, like if you're out at a restaurant and you have a little uh, a Chinese restaurant and you have a little soy sauce dish or some sort of condiment dish, that's what these are. And they work great for putting your paint in. Another kind of dish that I really like is by Creative Mark, and it's a plastic dish that has little nubs on it. You see that? So that when you put your brush on it, the brush doesn't roll off because there are little nubs here to catch it, which is great. So I think one of these had black in it, right? Yeah, I actually cleaned it. Look at that. It was black last night. Okay, so a brush holder I find comes in handy. So as I'm painting, I can take my brush and stick it up there on the brush holder like that, and that way I don't have brushes rolling around and paint getting everywhere. All right. Now I will be putting a link to these items because on Whatnot I sell artwork, but uh, in YouTube, I go back after the workshop and I add the links to the products that I don't carry into the description of the video, so you'll be able to easily find them. Let me show you a couple of books that I really like that are about Asian brush painting. So this one right here, Chinese Brush Painting, and it's by Danny Han Lin Chen. So I'll put a link to it. I don't think this particular book is in print anymore, but you can find a similar one. And in here, you'll see he gives you steps, step by step. He's showing a grasshopper or a katydid on top of a melon, and then he walks you through the steps for how to paint them. Let me see, where's the second page? There you go. So he shows you the whole process there. And I loved it. This is a small book, tiny, right? But there's once you've practiced a little bit in your Asian painting, wow. This is a great little book. Oh, let me set that aside. Another one is this is by May Ro here, May Ro, and it's The Beginner's Guide to Chinese Painting. And I think there are 5 or 6 books in the series, and this one happens to be birds and insects. So if I look here, they she doesn't have the grasshopper in here, but what she does have is the dragonfly. And a lot of people love dragonflies, so I love the way that she steps you through the process, right? You see that? And then not only that, on the next page, she shows you variations of color and variations of directions. Like, what is your dragonfly doing, right? Excellent, excellent book as well. I have the whole series. Of course, I had once I tried one and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. I had to buy every single one of them. But they're great because they show you stroke by stroke by stroke and in color what to do Chinese brush painting. And then this is I've had this book for a long time. It's a Walter Foster book, and it's about Chinese brush painting. The author here is Lucy Wang, and what I like is that throughout the book here, like these are little bees. So she's talking about doing this painting, but then she'll throw in how to do the insects there. And again, they show you stroke by stroke with instructions here how to do your little insects. Isn't that fun? I just love it. So in here, she shows you how to do bees and butterflies. Um, but it's an excellent book, just a general overall book for learning Chinese brush painting. Let me see if there's, yes. Okay, cool. Um, it's important how you hold the brush. So this is the way that I hold the brush most of the time. And then this is straight up and down, and this is called oblique. But these are the ways that we're going to be holding the brush. And that's why I said you can take a regular watercolor brush, like this is your Princeton Velvet Touch. And instead of holding it like we normally do with regular watercolors, you just hold it like this, like you would for Chinese painting, and then you can get some of the same strokes if you don't have the Asian brushes. But you know what? Asian brushes are inexpensive, so I would definitely suggest you get yourself some. Put them in your repertoire, right? We're going to be working on top of a piece of felt. So this is a nice size piece of felt that will fit these 9.5 by 13 sheets on it. And that's because these practice sheets, I was telling you, the Hanshi paper, it's thin. And as I'm working um, with my, especially the black sumi ink, it can go through the paper to the back. So you want to have a piece of felt down on your surface in order, or work on a piece of plastic with a couple of pieces of paper behind it, maybe some newsprint, right? So that you don't get ink onto your surface. You don't want that. Okay, so let me get this. I've got a piece of the Hosho paper out, or the Hanshi paper out. I can see, oh my gosh, um, in the other room, I have paper weights. So the paper weights you use just to hold your paper down as you're painting with it, because right now my air conditioner's going and it's trying to blow my paper out of the way. Ah, stop it. Oh, okay. So we're going to go over top of the table and I'm going to show you painting. Um, First, we'll do some of the grasshoppers, and then we will do a um, one of the pineapples. And when we do the pineapple, part of the pineapple leaf here, we're then going to put a little grasshopper on the leaf, just like this from out in my garden. Is that fun? So if you don't have them yet, you can find these reference pictures. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, just go to the my community tab on my channel, and you'll find the pictures there. If you're not there, if you're on Whatnot, you can go to my website here, beatsart.com, and go to the events tab. And in the listing for this event are those 4 pictures. All right. So that you'll have the reference pictures if you want to follow along. All right. I'm going to take us over top of the table. When you're doing Chinese or Japanese, Asian style painting, there are 2 methods that you can do. One method is a detail method, sometimes called contour method. And usually you use a smaller brush like one of these to do that, because you're making lines and then you fill in the lines. Um, or there's that's also called bone method. And then there's the boneless method. And what that means is that you are just brushing and you're not worrying about lines, you're just going for form. So I prefer most of the time to use a boneless structure, but I'm going to show you the bone structure for for the grasshopper first because I want you to see the grasshopper is the kind of thing that it helps if you practice it with the bone method, meaning you're going to use a smaller brush and create a bunch of lines first. Okay. So let's get some black ink in here. Uh-oh. Let's do the black. So I like these dispensers for the Asian ink. So Yasutomo, this is a small 2-ounce Yasutomo Sumi ink. Um, but they also make this style of Sumi ink where you have a little dispenser here. And I really like this because you don't want to get a lot of bubbles, but you can swirl it to get the paint to start to mix together. And then this is nice because it has a little nozzle on it. Do you see that? And that way I can take it and dispense only a little bit of paint with that, just a couple drops like that. And I like that a lot. That I like the ones with the nozzle a lot because then I can control a little bit better how much paint I get in there. Now, right now, this is very dark. I'm going to get my brush wet first. I like to have a wet brush before I start. Oh, I need a paper towel. Always have to have a paper towel in my hand. Um, so there we go. We don't want it to be soaking wet, but we do want the fibers to be a little bit primed, as it were. All right. And then I can go like this and yeah, and you can see how dark. See how dark that ink is. Now, when I'm doing something like this, uh, I like to add well, there's a little bit of water in my brush. So the fact that there's a little bit of water in my brush helps to have it not be quite so black. But let me get another piece of this Hanshi paper because I just remembered that usually I will have a separate sheet next to me that I use for testing out my colors. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this piece of Hanshi and these rice papers have a smooth side and a rough side. Just like with watercolor paper, especially if it's cold press, you'll have a textured side and a more smooth side. So normally I paint on the smooth side, but right now for testing the ink, I like to test it on the rough side. And if you've done this before, you'll understand. So just trust me. Okay, so I've got it turned over, turned in half, and now I can test. Woo, it is super black, super, super black. So, especially if I'm just warming up and I'm just starting out the session, I may not want it to be quite so black. So, let me grab another one of these bowls here, and I'm going to get my brush wet. And that way, the more water it has in there, the more gray the color is going to come out. Oops, I'm making a mess. Okay, so it's a little bit lighter, but not as light as I want it. So let me I have these droppers. I always keep droppers handy so I can drop some more water in there and adjust. Let's just adjust how gray it is because it's still quite black. So now I've got a lot more water in there. And let's see what sort of color we have here. Okay, I'm happier with that. It may be hard to see on camera, but this is super dark. This is a little bit lighter, and this is going to be a little bit lighter still. Okay, so this is like a dark gray, and this is going to be a little bit lighter gray. So when I'm starting out with a subject like this, rather than committing to this super dark, which I can see is already starting to dry, so I'm just going to spray it with a little bit of water there. Um, I prefer when I'm first starting out to work with something that's a little bit more on the gray side. Hey there. Hi, everyone. Oh, Sam Glove says, I like gloves. Welcome into over on YouTube. Okay, so instead of painting, holding it like a pencil and painting like this, When you do Asian brush painting, you're holding it like this. So instead of putting your middle finger underneath it like a pencil, you're putting your middle finger on top of it. So these two fingers don't even have to do anything. It's just your thumb and your index finger and your middle finger. Okay. Um, Now, most of the time, I tuck my other fingers like this for myself. So I'm holding it like that. Thumb, middle finger, I mean index finger, middle finger, and ring finger right underneath. And that's how I usually do it. And most of the time, although not all the time, but most of the time, you're going pretty close to straight up and down. Although, of course, you can angle your brush as well. So let's start with, um, I'm going to start with the antenna. So we've got the antenna here for the grasshopper. And I'm working from this picture that's on my website, and on YouTube, it's under the community tab. Okay. So I'm looking at that picture to get a feel for how the grasshopper looks. Eek. I'm just trying to see if I can get it somewhere where you can see it. So let me do this. I print my images as 5x7s on an 8.5 by 11 paper, so it's easy for me to just fold it like that, and it's a little easier to manage, I find, like that as a half piece of paper. Okay, so we've got the little antenna now, and there's an eye. So there's an eye right here, like this. And then there's a little tiny bit of an eye over here. Now, what you're going to notice when you're using this thinner Schwan paper, rice paper, is you see how the edges are really soft, right? It's spreading. It's spreading because of the nature of the paper. And that's actually what one of the things I love about painting on rice paper is once you get used to it, the way that the paint spreads is so cool. Okay, so we've got a couple of dots there. Now, this grasshopper has this yellow line across the back, right? So you can choose to, if I'm just using black, I can do that right here and then this way. And it comes like this and a tiny bit over here. And then there are sections to it. I'm going to show you up closely. Do you see the little sections right here? Welcome in, Renee. Welcome in. I'm teaching how to paint with Asian brushes and Asian paints, but you could do the project in watercolors as well. So this is the head right here. And then we've got a couple of other little sections here. Okay, so that's what I'm just following along with that. This has to come here. Okay, so now I've got this part of grasshopper right here. All right, where the head is. Next, we have a little arm here and a little arm here. So I'm just following along with that. And again, I'm using the Chinese grip. So I'm holding it up and down like this between these three fingers with my ring finger here sort of as support. And I'm coming out of here. And the longer you wait, the more you're going to get a deposit. So you see where that little elbow is? I waited just a second and more paint comes out of this brush. Okay. And then over here, I've just got a little one right there on the other side. And then right down here, I've got the start of another leg. And I'm actually pressing down and moving my wrist a little bit because it's a little thicker down here. So I'm just bringing it up and then I'm going to put the elbow right there. And then it comes this way. And in this case, the foot kind of comes out. Now, what I see that a lot of people do is, well, what I do is I put little dots on the foot right there to indicate that there's those little jagged bits on the leg. That's what I like to do. And then over on this side, we've got another leg, but it's only part of the leg. So it's coming up. We have an elbow, and then it's coming down. All right. So that's what I'm looking at the picture. I'm working on this leg and this leg right now. Okay. Because before I do the body, I want to do these big back legs, right? Because if I make the body and the body is black, and then I go to put this leg in, you may lose some of the effect of the legs. So I'm doing the legs first, and then I'm going to do the body. But did you notice I haven't had to go back and grab more ink because there's plenty of ink in this brush. Lots, lots, lots. Okay, so right back here, we've got the big black leg, and the big black leg here has a big honkin' area here, comes up, and then a thin leg here. All right, so I'm looking at the picture. I'm sort of sweeping it, and now I'm using it oblique. I'm still holding it the same way, but instead of being straight up and down to get more detail, I'm going on the side to get a thicker bit of line here. Okay, like this. And then we have the knee at this point. I guess these are elbows and these are knees, right? And then I'm going to bring this part of the leg down, and then I'm going to bring the foot out. And this part of the leg has those little bits on it. And then down here we have beep, 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 a couple of little bits there too. Super easy, right? So that's that back leg. And I'm looking at it going, no, it needs to be bigger. So you know what? I'm just making it bigger here. I just extended it a little bit right there. Okay. And then there is another big old back leg over here that starts right about here and comes out like this and then in like this with a knee. And here we've also got those little spikes on it right here. And it disappears back behind the body. Okay. So I'm actually going to add just a little bit more to it. All right. So we've got the back legs. These insects, the grasshoppers, have 6 legs. So 3 legs on each side. All right. Now I can put the body in now that I've got the legs because I'm not doing the body entirely black. That's why I have the detail brush. I'm doing the body a little bit more just with smaller strokes. And I'm looking. Okay, so I need to do this just a little bit more there. And then this starts to come down, and it comes down, and it comes down, right? And then I've got some of the body comes down here and then comes like this. There we go. So that's the back end of the grasshopper there. Back end of the grasshopper. And at that point, I would just add a little bit of water in there. So again, it's gray. The more water I have in the brush, the more grayness I'm going to get. And then I can bring some gray in here. I'm trying to avoid the leg, so we maintain the leg there. And now that I have gray, add just a little bit more water to get it even a little more gray. So you can see here on the edge, it's very gray. So you can sort of gauge that on the side of your pot. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of gray here, 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 in between there on the head, right? So I'm going back and I'm filling in just a little bit of it there. And the little black areas there are the wings, because believe it or not, this little guy has little teeny tiny wings right here. Maybe it's a juvenile, I don't know. But there we go. We have a grasshopper. Woohoo! Yay. So that's one way of doing it. That's what I would call the bone method, where you're building the different sections like that, and you're being a little more um, well, you're trying to be a little more precise to where you put things, but you're using a smaller brush. Let's try this with a larger brush and don't do the bones. Don't do the bone structure like we just did. Okay. So let me see. I have two brushes here that are really nice. What you're going to notice is this one's a little bit bigger and this one's sort of a medium. So I'm going to use the medium one for right now. Ooh, here's another nice one right here. Ah, okay. This tends to be my most favorite brush, so let me just use my mostest favorite brush, right? Now, what I like about the Asian brushes is when you put them in the water like this, and then you're going to wipe it on the edge of whatever sort of water container you have until you get back to having a nice point. Now, this has a little hair coming out of it, which happens all the time. All right, y'all. It's okay. They get hair like that. All right, where did I put my paper towel? There it is. So you get it full of water, you reshape it, and then I'm using just here and the belly of the brush, I'm taking water off of there so it's not soaked. All right, there we go. So now it's ready to receive ink. All right, let's try it. So I'm always doing this like the sheets that I showed you earlier. I do this many times. Okay, where did I put them? Here they are. I'll show you. I do it many times so that I get a feel for what the creature or the subject looks like, right? And I'll do it in bone structure and I'll do it without bone structure. And so I'll try different methods. Here we go. Nice. And remember, this is not the straight ink. This is the ink with water in it. So if you want to test what does it look like, you just bloop right on your sample or your test sheet, right? Still pretty dark. Ooh, it's like really dark. All right. I might need to get one more bowl here. These all have paint in them. Okay, I'll get over it. No worries. I'll just add some more water to that and put it against the edge, and then I can get it a little bit lighter. So let's see. Okay, there, it's lighter. A lighter gray. So I'm always working with the water and the ink or the water and the paint to try to get it to the right color. And in the books about Asian brush painting, they say that there are 7 grades of black that you want to work with. So, okay. But I'm happy with the grade of black that I have now. I didn't want it to be too overwhelming. Um, so I'm essentially going to do the same process in terms of areas of the grasshopper, but I'm not going to put the little lines in. All right. I still need to do the little antennas and then the head. I do like to do the eyes. Broop. And then I'm going to create the bodice here. And then we've got a leg and a leg. We've got, I am going to do the body like this. And then I'm going to add a little bit more paint in order to get it darker for the rest of the legs. Okay, so I'm coming in here to the dark, 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 and I'm getting it dark on the tip there so that I can do my other legs. A little bit more water, just a tiny bit to help it flow. Ah! What did I do to myself? Okay, hold on. You see how my brush got messed up just a little bit? I always like to have it nice and smooth when I'm working on it. Okay, let's try that. And so now I'm going to bring this leg up, out, back, dots. And then this leg is going to come up, back, and have little dots here. and then it's going to have little dots on its leg, right? But here I'm working with the difference between a gray and a black. And then, and so I practice this a couple of different ways. Bone structure, not the bone, boneless. And then I see, what do I like? Now there's supposed to be another little leg over here, like that. And then we've got the big leg that comes back here. And I'm actually going to create a foot where there wasn't one, but that's okay because I'm an artist, so I get to modify it however I want, right? So this one is much more just sort of suggestive of the animal. And I may want to come in here and blacken the eyes just a little bit more. Right now you can come in and make some adjustments if you want to mess around with your image. See, now I would do just a whole bunch more of that. Little elbow, got that. Okay. So for this particular subject, I like doing the bone structure, but it just depends on whether you're doing the image or the subject by itself, or are you doing the subject just as part of a very loose scene, right? This will still give you an idea of what it is, even though it's very loose, right? And so I might even want to go back in with the dark and fix up these. There we go. Right? So you know that it's a bug of some sort, but it doesn't have as much structure to it as this one does. So this is bone and this is boneless. All right. So let's go ahead and start on the pineapple. And then I expect that on the pineapple leaf, I will be doing a bone structure here of the grasshopper because I kind of like this is part of the same pineapple, but I like the way it looks a little bit more with the bone for this particular subject. All right, so let's put this away. Normally, I would just fill the whole page. You can see here, I would just fill the whole page with it in various grays and blacks like that. And just try different angles and different ways of painting it. Oh, this was the other one that I did after that one, using a little bit more ink. You see here, boneless, and then this has the bones to it. All right. So that's sort of the way that I practice the subject before I go to a bigger or a final painting. All right. Let me put this away and get out another piece. Ooh, you know what? We're going to work on instead of the hanshi paper, we're going to work on the hosho paper right now. So let me grab the hosho. Hello, hosho, where are you? Let's see. Where did I put it? I'm just looking. Here, it's over here, I think. Are you over here? Okay, this is not the first time this has happened, right? Y'all know, even though I've been sitting here the whole time, I'm like, okay, where did it go? Okay, that's the hanshi. And then I have the books. There's some more hanshi. There's the hosho. Okay, it was just hiding underneath there. All right, so we're going to use this Yasutomo. It's a 6H hosho paper, and it's thicker. So this paper is very thick compared to what I was using. The practice paper, the paint tends to spread a little bit more than it does on the hosho paper. So we're going to try it on the hosho paper. And let me just put that there. There we go. So we are going to be working from this image right here where we have the pineapple and then a leaf and we have our little grasshopper. So let me fold this in half like that. I gave you two versions. One is a where I came in on the image and the other one is a little bit more wide. So you can see the second one that's growing there too. But we're going to focus on this right here. Okay. Normally I would do it this way, sideways like that, but I'm going to do it up and down because I want you to be able to see it since we're working here on the vertical camera. All right. So instead of black, I'm going to be working with color here. So let me go ahead and rinse out my brushes. Hold on here. I have two containers of water here. So this is the black water. But the black water always gets dirty very quickly. Okay, let's move that out of the way so it doesn't accidentally get a bunch of ink on it. Okay, usually I take this to my sink and I rinse and rinse and rinse it because, wow, the black really gets in there. So let's just put this away in here. And I have more water here. The sink is all the way in the other room. So I do this here so that we can, so I don't have to jump up and go in the other room. See, this is the second washing, and there's still plenty of gray in there. So I'm pretty hard on my Asian brushes. Like I press super hard on them. It's a natural hair. And you know what? Asian brushes are very inexpensive. So I have loads of them. All right, there we go. Let's put that more gray in there. And then we should be better off. Let's see if we can get some of that out of there. All right. E. Wow. The whole thing was dirty. What? What the heck, man? There we go. I'm going to put some more water in there. And then because we're going to be working with color this time. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let me put my water away and put the dirty water. So I just have it's just like a yogurt container that I keep here at the desk with me so I don't have to keep going back to the sink. All right, let's bring the Hojo paper back down. And so we are going to be putting a pineapple, and then we're going to put the leaves of the pineapple, and we are then going to put our little grasshopper on there. So I'm going to put this black aside because we'll need it for the grasshopper later. Now you see this one's almost dry, so I'm constantly just spraying my paints with a little bit of water like that to help them stay. And then here you can see I've been squeezing the paints out into here. So what paints am I using? I'm using the Marie's Chinese watercolors. Now this is a set of 24. I also have the set of 18. And then I discovered that there are a couple of colors that are not in either of those two sets. And I'm like, but I need those for color mixing. So I bought a spring green and I bought a lemon yellow. They come in packs of 5 because I use these a lot, right? So it's okay to buy them in the pack of 5. So what I've done here, let me find it. There we go. So in this one I'm putting my greens, and this one I'm putting my yellows because what we've got primary greens and yellows and some browns or oranges in here. So let's start with this one. And what I want to do first is I want to just get some of that color cleaned up in here. So let's do this and just clean it up a little bit and put some fresh paint in there. So let's get a lot of the color out. It's green because at the end of my last painting session, I was adding blue in there to make my own green and it got contaminated, didn't it? Okay, here we go. So I like to work with 2 yellows to do to use them as a yellow and also to do color mixing. So in the set, there is a color they call gamboge. It's color number 218. 218. And so this one is going to go in here. There's a dollop of gamboge, and then uh, the lemon yellow, because I like to color mix a lot with the lemon yellow. So you're going to see when I put it in here how different the colors are. But the lemon yellow, which is number 215, is one of my primary mixing yellows. And so they don't come in any of these sets. You have to order it separately. That's why I ordered this tube separately. So let me show you up close here. You've got the lemon yellow here, and you've got the gamboge, which is a little more orange here. Okay. Now let's look at the greens. And in the set here, there's several greens, but it's very interesting. The greens become more chalky as you use them. Now, when you get the Marie's, there's a little probe there that you're going to use. They come fresh. So can you see how this is sealed up? You're going to turn this over and you're going to puncture it like that. And then that way it makes it open. But let me show you this paint right here. Let me get a little bit of it out with this. This is one of the greens, but as you can see, it's kind of a very light blue green, and that's not what I wanted. So it goes from emerald green, which I'll show you here. So we have two light blues. There are two dark blues, three dark blues over here in this set, and another medium blue. But here, this one, number 511, is their emerald. And when I'm color mixing, I use the emerald a lot. So I'm going to take this number 511 and put it in here. So I do a lot of color mixing with this emerald. The emerald is interesting because it looks synthetic or fake straight out of the tube. I'll show you here. So this is what it looks like straight out of the tube. So it's very emerald colored, right? But it's a great mixing color to get other greens. And then the other green that I like is the one that I had to buy separately, and it's number 562, and it is the spring green. So let me put this in here so you can see what it looks like here. So there is the spring green. And I find that often I'm mixing this uh, emerald green together with the spring green to get different variations of green, right? Darker, lighter, like that. And sometimes I just use one of these yellows to mix with the emerald to get a totally different green. Now there's a special mix that I'm going to show you all right now. And let's see, I think I have another one of these on the table here. Let's see if I can find one that's not used up like that. Let's see here. Come on, y'all. I know there are some right here. I'll show you. See, I have a whole pile of them on my desk. So here's a plain one. If you want to get a dark olive color, which doesn't exist in the set, by the way, you're going to mix black. So I'm going to take a little bit of the black, which is number 793 here. So I put a little bit of the black, and you can use the black for your black lines instead of using the ink. Okay. So you don't have to buy the ink. You can just buy this set, and use the black that's in the set. Okay. I like the ink for when I'm doing ink only paintings, but I find that this black tube also works well for this. So I've got the black in there, and now I'm going to put some of the lemon yellow here, and I'm going to put some of the gamboge, which is a different yellow over here. And then I'll show you that you mix those two together and you get some very interesting greens. Okay. So let's take the lemon yellow here. And then I'm going to grab just a little bit of the black and mix it in with it. Bam, dark green, just like that. So now I've got a dark green. Look, so now I've got an olive green. So that's something that you learn from experience. It's like, what the heck, man? I put black and yellow and now I have this like gorgeous olive green. Yep. That's a trick. That is definitely a trick. And now we're going to do the black together with this gamboge, which is a little warmer yellow. And let's see what kind of a, like a bumblebee yellow almost. Let's add a little bit of black to that and see what we get. Yeet. Come on. There we go. We'll probably get something a little bit darker. Yeah, a lot darker. So the gamboge does not have as much of a tinting strength as that lemon yellow. And so it's even darker, a darker olive still. So even darker, right? So let me show you. So you can see it's even darker. What if I add a little bit of water to that? Yeah, now you can start to see it a little bit more olivey green, right? So that's a way that if you need a dark olive real quick, you just take a tiny bit of black and you mix it in with one of your yellows and you'll get these darker colors, which is especially helpful, for instance, here with the pineapple when you're doing the sections in between. You can use black, but I like mixing a dark color like this to put in there instead because then it's a color, it's not just black. Okay. And let's go ahead then. We have some greens, we have some yellows. The other thing that I found that I needed to use with this is an orange. So, oh, and I also put one of the light blues I did put in here. And the reason is because the kind of the underside of some of these have blue in them, and I just thought it would be fun to throw a little bit of blue in there. So this is from yesterday. I'm just going to activate it with a little bit of water. And this is a dark blue. So it's this one right here. It's a Prussian blue. And I mix that with a little bit of yellow and I get some nice rich greens as well. So Prussian blue, I'm putting that there. Hey, you have all these colors, might as well use them, right? There we go. I'm activating it with water. Now, what I have in here is a little bit of brown and a little bit of an orange. So let me show you here. I've got this. Is this the orange I used? Let me see. Yeah. So this is number 316, and it's an orange. So I'm putting a little bit of orange there, like that, because along the edges of these leaves, there's a little bit of brownish orange. And then I also grabbed a little bit of brown. So there's a dark brown, number 699. And I'm just going to put a little bit of it in here, just in case we need a little dark brown. There we go. Nice. Okay. I think we have enough colors now. And I'm going to just add a little bit of water to make sure everything's activated. There we go. And woohoo! And I've got my test paper here, so I can use that if I need to. And I'm not going to start with this little brush. I'm going to start with the bigger brush. So I can just get some bigger lines out there. So we've got the big brush. And what I like to do is I like to start up here with these uh, leaves. Now, I'm not doing realism. This is more impressionism. Okay. So I feel like the impressionism is simpler than doing realism. I prefer to just get her done and not spend a lot of time there on the details. So we're going to work on the top first. Hey, Caroline, Caroline, welcome in, welcome in. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. If you're a mom, I don't know, but Yeah, my daughters called me. My daughter from Greece called me together with my daughter from California earlier today. As well as my daughter here in Florida. So thank you very much, Caroline. Caroline, I appreciate that. And somebody asked on YouTube, what is the bright yellow pigment again? Let me get that for you. Hold on just one second. The bright yellow pigment is pigment number 215. Again, this is the Marie's Chinese colors and it's number 215, which is a lemon yellow. And what I found is that it does not come in any of their sets. So I bought this in a set of five. Um, and I use it all the time for mixing. So that's why I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll invest in five of those because you always need more than the one tube that comes in your kit. And the other one that I bought separately because of the nature of the color is number 562, and that is the spring green. I also bought that as a set of five because I like this straight out of the tube mix of the light green that I can mix with other colors more quickly than trying to take the emerald here and create some sort of light green. I can have more consistency if I'm able to get it right out of the tube, okay? So those are 2 that I bought as, a bulk set. So Caroline, did you do anything special today? My kids are all far flung, so I didn't spend time with them in person, but I spent time with them, on calls, and they sent me Cinnabons. So, hey, I love Cinnabons. All right. I'm using my medium-sized brush here because I'm on a medium-sized piece of paper. Um, and again, this is Hosho paper, Hosho. Oh, your daughter lives about an hour away. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, my daughter that's in Florida lives about 4 hours away. So I got together with her 2 weeks ago. So I wouldn't be traveling on Mother's Day. Uh, we're going to do the top of the pineapple. And Caroline, we're painting this pineapple. And let me show you. This is it in the black ink. Oh, good. You're going to get together with your daughter in a couple weeks. So this is just using the black Sumi ink like this out of a bottle where you can adjust it with water and get the grays and blacks out of it. And then let me see, I'm looking for one of my other artworks that had the color. And so this was my first run with color here, um, doing the pineapple. And so we're doing the pineapple, and then we're going to put on the pineapple leaves one of these grasshoppers. That was some of the testing that I did of the grasshopper because right now on my pineapple plant outside, I have a bunch of these grasshoppers on it. So I don't know if you can see that there, but yeah, so that's what we're painting. And these pictures are on my website, the Dietz Art, DIETZART.com website that you can go to the events tab and you'll find these pictures under the notice for this workshop or on YouTube under the if you go to the uh, 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 community tab, then you'll find these pictures as well. And I'm using Chinese watercolors from Marie's, which works perfectly on rice or Zhuan paper, which allows me to wet mount it afterwards. But you can do this on watercolor paper and use regular watercolor paints, and that will work too. Probably. Oh, you're not going to paint along today. Oh, you're working on art cards. Okay, okay. Well, I have created for this show later. We'll be doing the giveaway, and it's the choice of you can choose the pineapple or some of the chrysanthemums here. And these were painted with the Marie's paints. So if you're on YouTube and you want to get in on the giveaway later at the end of the show, then all you have to do is click the link in the description of the video on YouTube, and boop, that'll pop you over to Whatnot, where we're going to be doing the giveaway later. Okay, so I've got plenty of water on this brush. I don't need to add more. Ooh, I do need to get another paper towel though. Uh, there we go. Paper towel in hand all the time. Uh, and so we're going to start with the tops of the pineapple. And let's see, for the top of the pineapple, see, like I said, this green that's in there is just, this emerald is just like, that is too emeraldy, right? So let's add some of the spring green to the emerald, and then we get something that is more mid-tone green. Okay, that's why I needed that spring green. So there we go. We've got sort of a mid-tone green. And I actually want to add a little bit of this gamboge yellow. Let's see. Let's put some gamboge yellow in there. There, now we've got something that's a little greener. So that's why I like these little mixing bowls like this, because then I can just mix to my heart's content and have my various colors. Okay, that looks good. That's sort of a middle green right there, right? Now I know these leaves at the top are darker, but they're darker under the leaf and they're darker where the leaves meet the center. So if you look here, you see how I came back in and I added dark down inside there. So we're going to start with a little bit lighter and then we can darken it. All right. So I'm going to start with the pineapple, maybe up in here, this area. So I'm using the Asian hold, right, which is the thumb and the two fingers here, and then also supporting it with these two fingers here, up and down. And I'm just pressing. I'm looking at the picture and pressing and creating some leaves. Ooh, okay, I need a little bit more water so it'll flow a little bit better. And like this. Don't worry about getting anything perfect. We're just having fun, y'all. We're having fun. I do this all the time, and then I'm like, I like that. Okay, maybe that'll become a painting then, but not necessarily. I'm always experimenting. Okay, so we're creating these little tufts at the top, and then I am going to add just a little bit more of the dark, just a little in there. So now I've got another variation of the color that's slightly darker. And now they're coming in from the side like this, a little bit more here, off from the side here. So I'm pressing down with the tip and then drawing it out so that I'm getting these little leaves like this. Yeah, on the sides. Okay, I think I'm gonna do one here. And then I'm looking and I've got more that come in from the side like this, and a little one that comes in from here. And I want to make it just, the last time I did it, I made it a little too short. So I want to make it a little bit longer this time. So that's why you practice, right? And I'm just adding a little bit more of that darker emerald so I get a variation, a darker version of the color for the ones that are getting down closer. And oops. Now, when you have Asian brushes, you do need to watch because hairs will come out. And that's just because they're natural hair. So they shed sometimes. And I'm always watching the tip of my brush to see if there are any loose hairs on there or not. I don't worry about it too much, but sometimes there are. Okay. So now we've got these little ones coming in here. We've got a little one here. And now the ones that are at the base right here, right near where the pineapple comes out, they have a little bit of yellow in them because the light is reflecting off of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip this brush. So there's green here, and then I'm going to tip it with some yellow, right? Let's use some more of that gamboge. So I'm just putting yellow on the tip there. And then that way, when I now notice I'm choking up on the brush. You see how I'm choking it, meaning coming way down here instead of being back up here. If I want to do something that's a little more detailed, I choke and choke up on it. Okay. And now these little ones right here have a little more yellow in them. There we go. Yay. So I'm happy with that. You can always come back. And like I said, I like to add a little bit of drama with the darker. So let's take a little bit of that dark here. Just getting the dark on the tip of it like that. And then you can come in here and you can just add a little bit of darkness along here in certain places if you want to. I'm just saying, there would be a little darkness down inside here, and it would be a little dark inside there. So you could just go back in and add a little bit of that darkness into there. Yeah, there's another little hair. Come on, hairs. There we go. So it's not, like I said, it is not, I'm not trying to get photorealism. I'm just trying to do something it's fun, it's different, right? There we go. So we have some of the darkness in there. Nice. We got it. We got it. A little bit more there. Cool. So I like the effect of that. You can always come back and add more. So now that's the main green, but now I'm going to build the pineapple underneath here. That was these up at the top. Now I want to build the pineapple. So the pineapple is more sort of orangey, greeny brown, right? We're going to start with the lighter of the colors. Let's see what I have on my brush here. If you need to test the brush and see what you have going on, you test it on here. See that? To me, that's too green. Way too green. I don't want it to be so green. So let me come over here and grab some of this olive that I was messing with earlier. I don't want it to be too dark, but I definitely don't want it to be that bright, bright, bright green, right? Okay, so now I'm getting an olive color, but I want a little more yellow in it than that. So I'm just adding a little bit of a yellow to the olive. Ah, okay, I think that's gonna do it. Let's see. What do we have? That's too dark. Ah! Okay, so now I'm gonna use another cup because I'm gonna lighten it by adding water. So just like any regular watercolor, the more water you add, the more sort of transparent it's going to become, and then the color won't be quite so bold, right? So I just added more water. Let's see what that does for us. This is what it was when it was full. Ah, okay, we're getting there. That's much better, much better. And it was just adding water to the mix that I had there. Okay, a little bit more water because I want it to start out lighter and more suggestive. Let's take a little bit of this orange that I put out earlier. Yeah, because I want it to be just a little bit more olive, but not a black, not too olive. All right, let's see how we're doing right here. Poof. Not, excuse me, nice, 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 nice. Okay, I know you can't tell much of a difference, but there's a difference there. So now I'm going to look at the form here. And I'm just creating these are little diamonds. You see how those are sort of diamond shape on the pineapple there? So I'm choking up on the brush, but I'm holding it, Asian brush style with my ring finger supporting here and holding it pretty close to straight up and down, just at a bit of an angle. And then I'm going to create little diamonds here. So right in the center, right here, we want to create little diamonds. Okay, just little diamonds. And you don't have to fill the whole diamond up. Some of them are going to be partial. Okay, so we're just, and some of them here are going to be like little triangles because they're only halves. Okay, so this is like a triangle, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just building little diamonds and little triangles to get the shape of the pineapple going. And like I said, I like doing this on rice paper because I can feel the brushes starting to get dry because of the way that the paint, yeah, it only takes a little bit of paint and then it starts to spread and it's really cool. I love that. Okay. So see how I'm holding it up and down like this? Let me look, I'm looking at my picture to kind of see how the rosettes are going. So we have those. Yeah, there's a little bit more over here. So this goes like this over here. Don't worry about the white because the white gets filled in with some more paint in a little bit here. Okay. So let's do another sort of the ones on the outside are little triangles. And then we've got the little diamonds going. There we go. Isn't that fun? So it's not really hard to do a triangle, I mean, a pineapple if you're just doing the little diamonds and the little triangles here, and you don't even have to fill the whole thing out, right? And it doesn't have to be as big as this. It can be whatever size you want. Hey there, Forest Trading Co. Welcome in on Whatnot. Welcome in, welcome in. So I'm setting my pineapple over there to look at it. Ooh, I'm so happy right now. This is looking terrific. And I'm not necessarily filling in the whole, see the whole thing. I'm leaving some white space. Why? Because I'm going to come back in and add more detail to it in a few minutes. So I'm just getting a feel for, okay, where am I placing these diamonds? Adding a little bit of color there. Yeah, the little triangles on the outside and a little bit more of this. And then I'm going to start looking at, okay, where, how does it, it comes, it's thin here, goes a little thicker, and then it comes thin again. So I do want to bear that in mind that I'm going to be bringing it back into a small area here at the bottom. Okay, we're almost there. Almost there. Diamonds. This will be for sure a nice size diamond right there. Nice size diamond right here. There we go. And of course, I'm still working on building out this side over here. So we've got the little bit there, a little bit here. Let's see, how's it going? How's it going? I have to set back periodically and take a look at it and see, like, where am I? Right? Okay, there's another one there. I just need another little tiny triangle here. And then I'm going to do another diamond here. And then a tiny triangle right there. All right, almost. We've almost got it. The ones at the bottom here are diamonds, but they're very shallow, shallow diamonds. Okay, let's bring this one out like that. Do we need any more? Any more? Any more? Just like a little one right here. And a little one sort of right here. Okay, So now we have the basic shape of a pineapple. Woo, fun. Alrighty. Now we're going to work with the little bits of the pineapple. And let me just see before I get started if there's any more like where I want to fix any of these so they come a little bit closer in some areas. Okay, like this right up here, just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So they're just a little bit closer in some areas. Start out further apart. You can always come back in and get closer. Okay, like that. And here and here. All right, coolio. Nice. All right, that looks pretty good. I likey. All right, now I'm gonna, am I gonna clear the brush out? Let's see, maybe not. Maybe I'll just get a little bit more water on it. And what I want now is I want an orangey color because if you look at the pineapple, do you see in the middle there? And if you can really see it on the side here, there's like these things sticking out, and it's from where the flowers were. So these were all little flowers, and then they close up like this, and there's a little seam there. So that's what we're going to put in now. But I'm not going to use the big brush for the seams. I'm going to use a smaller brush for the seams. So here's my smaller brush. And now what I want to get on the smaller brush is I want some of this orange and brown. So let's take a little bit of the orange and just a little bit of the brown. And so I've got a color it's an orange, but it's a little toned down using some of the brown. Cool, there we go. That's what I need. Okay, so it's orange, but it's a tanny orange. And now we're gonna put those little seams in here. And so this is my detail brush, and I'm going to hold it like my Chinese or and sometimes you see how this ring finger's coming out and steadying it as well. So when I'm going in and I'm doing detail work like that, I often will take my ring finger and put it on top like that. So I need to make a mark across and I need to make some marks. Okay, I'm going to show you on another piece right here. And you know what? Those aren't dry enough, so I'm going to have to come back to this. What I'm doing is I'm creating a mark, and then some other little marks like that. That's what it's going to look like. But these are still too wet and it's soaking right in. So I'm just going to set this aside and get back to that. Let's go ahead and fill in then some of those middle parts. And to fill in the middle parts, I'm going to need another small brush. So let's see how this one is faring tonight. Okay, that has a nice tip to it. So we're going to go in between these areas, and that is rather dark in between those areas. So we mixed this um, dark olive with the black and the yellow earlier. So that's what I'm going for right now is a dark olive. And I'm filling the brush. Okay, but before I put it on my finished artwork, what am I going to do? Oh, nice dark green. So holding the brush, I'm gonna come in here and I'm just, oop, not enough water because it's not spreading enough. I want it to spread. Yeah, there we go. Now it's spreading. And I'm adding this dark color in between the little segments. Oop, not too wet, but definitely wet because I need it to sort of fill some of these segments here. It's okay if you leave a little bit of white. I'm just trying to create that illusion of depth in there in between these different areas. Okay, here we go. Right. This brush is running a little bit dry. I need it to feed just a little more water into there. Let's get it a little wetter. There we go. I don't want it to be too dry. I want it to kind of spread on this paper, right? That's the beauty of working on Schwan or rice paper is the way that the paint will spread. And I love that. Okay. So getting it nice. It's working. So we're on the little outside edges here. On the outside edges, I'm bringing it out just a little bit on the edge there. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's pick up some more paint, but we definitely need a little more water so it spreads a little bit. I don't want hard lines. I want a nice spready line here. And we'll do this and this. Bring it in there. Oh, it's starting to look like a pineapple, y'all. It's awesome. Oh, am I easily amused? Is that what's going on here? There we go. So I'm just following along with the diamonds and adding the darks around them. Okay, here. Like I said, it's okay if there's white. Don't worry if there's white left on there. That's perfectly fine. White is good. And I'm really working on having a Goldilocks amount of water and paint on there so that it spreads just a little bit, but not too much, right? Okay, there we go. A little bit there. Nice. Almost there. Now you are going to notice as this dries that it's actually quite a bit lighter when the paint dries. So where it looks super dark when I'm first putting it down, it comes out looking lighter, but that's okay. You can easily adjust that by just putting another layer on. And that's what I did with this one. In between these sections, I did about 3 layers of paint. So you can deepen the color by doing that, by just adding another layer. Okay, there we go. Cool. I love painting the pineapples. I think they're so fun. They're really not that hard. It's like I said, it's little diamonds and triangles, and then you're just filling in these areas around them to really make that show up. So again, I've got my uh, gamboge yellow and a little bit of black, and that's what I'm using for this dark green. Dark green. Okay, here we go. Yee! I can see I need some more water. It's coming out really thick. Don't come out so thick. Come on. Boop. There we go, more water. But if it is coming darker, I'll just go in other areas that are not so dark yet and fill those in again, second time. All right here. There we go. You're going to have some chunky areas in between, which is fine. You just fill that in with the dark. That's why you don't have to be too careful when you're putting the when you're putting those individual little triangle or diamonds in and triangles. You don't have to be too careful because you're going to come back like this and you're going to fill in any areas that need to be filled in. It's great with this dark color. Okay, wow, it's beginning to come to life. The pineapple is coming to life. I can even see it on the camera there. Yay! This is what makes it come to life. And it's right now it has the right amount of water in it because it's spreading just right. And now it's getting a little dry. No, don't get dry. That. There we go. Okay. Now I can see when I look at it, I can see little areas where it's dried and it's light. So I'm going to go back over some of those areas. Hey there, Waves So Groovy. Welcome in over on Whatnot. Welcome in, welcome in. So once again, I'm coming into that dark green. And I'm putting another layer. So this is how I build up those darks is I just come back over it with another layer and it works really well. And then you decide at a certain point, okay, it's dark enough for me. And it may be dark enough for you on the first run. But if not, this is what you're doing. You're just going back over it again, which is super easy because you've already done the initial work. You're just making sure that it's nice and dark. There we go. In those shadow areas. Oh yeah, it's looking great. There we go. Dark green, dark green. And that's why when I'm doing the pineapple, I prefer using a dark green like this to go into these areas in between and not using a black because black is very harsh next to the green. Ah, it's looking lovely. Okay, here we go. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. There we go. You can do it. Then we're going to go in and we're going to put um those little wispy hairs. And I have a feeling my color was too light. I'm going to have to go just a little bit darker on that. Okay. Oh, it's looking nice. Nice. Okay, pineapple. My pineapples are not quite ready to eat yet. The ones that I have outside here that this painting is modeled after. It's like, no. I'm trying to make sure that the grasshoppers don't eat the pineapples when they're ripe. It's like, you guys better not. Uh-uh. Don't even think about it, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, nice. So I went over those twice, and that way we've got it's deepened the color, which is very nice. Okay, good, 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 good. Fabulous. Oh, it looks like a pineapple. Awesome. Just bring this up here just a little bit more so you can sort of see some of the darkness around the edge there. Okay, cool. That works. All right, so now we've got that sort of orangey. I'm going to need more brown in it, I can see. So let me grab this. I made it like sort of a tan, but right now I want a little bit more brown because I'm looking at it against the green here and going, not dark enough. So I'm adding a little bit more brown to the orange, holding the brush nice and close up so I have good control. And these should now be dry enough. Let's try, let's try. If not, we'll go to the leaves down here and one side, the other side, and then making little hairs and little dots. Yes. Okay, so here, of course, those little hairs are going to go off the side. So let me bring it up to you in just a second here so you can see what I'm talking about. So can you see how they're coming off the side there? And it's like this. One side, the other side, and then some little hairs around it. Okay, so that's what I do here is I just work with making a few dots and a few marks coming off the pineapple like that. Okay, cool. That's all it takes. And then it gives it a really cool look. There we go. Yeah, it's amazing how they look. And then this side, and then some little hairs and dots. This side, and then some little hairs coming out of it. Okay. One side, the other side, and then some little hairs. So one side, another side, some little hairs here. That's sort of how they close up after the flower is done with it. So I'm going to do a little bit more here where I was doing it earlier, but it didn't take very well. So it was too wet earlier. There we go. So I'll just do this and this way. A couple of little hairs here. Ooh, it's coming together. It is coming together, y'all. There we go. Nice. Not that hard. It's just figuring out what is sort of what is the order of operation here, right? What am I looking for? Okay, got that. And this is coming out here. There we go. Got that there. And then these are sort of coming out here. All right, cool. That is fun. If you're on Whatnot, I would suggest that you take a look at my artworks that are available in the shop. So if you go to the little link at the bottom of the page, you can um, you can go to the buy now and see almost 500 artworks that are available in my shop there. Okay. I can see I'm just beginning to run out a little bit, so I'm going to come back over here and grab a little bit more paint so I can continue. But I'm using the small brush so I can get some little marks here. Like that. And the beautiful thing about doing impressionism like this is nothing has to be perfect, right? I mean, it's going to look good, but it doesn't have to be like, I'm not going for photorealism. So, yay. Nice. Got some hairs coming off. Hey, you have to practice with your brush. You have to practice moving it. Hey, Barbara Souza is here. I see on YouTube. Welcome in, welcome in. Um, so with my finger here, I'm really moving. You see how I'm moving the brush and I'm pushing it with this finger right here. These are just support and I'm moving it. Well, these two really, I'm moving it like this to get those small movements out of the brush. Cool. So Barbara, today I'm doing Asian brush painting, and we're painting a pineapple, and then we're going to put a grasshopper. This is from my garden, so we're going to put a grasshopper on the leaf right there. But isn't it fun? It's coming out great. I'm loving it so far. Yes, but I, it does help to have the right brushes, y'all. So don't beat yourself up if you're not getting the same look. Um, I highly recommend if you're going to do this style of Asian brush painting that it helps to have the right brushes, and they're super inexpensive. So it's not you're not spending a lot of money in order to get started in Asian brush painting, which is great. Let me just fix that one a little bit. Ah, I love it. Does that look like a pineapple? We have a pineapple, y'all. There it is. I'm loving it. You can always fiddle with it and come back and deepen the colors in between, but for right now, this is great. Great. All right. So the pineapple comes on a stem. It has like a big core stem to it. So now I'm coming back to this larger brush that we were using earlier. Let's see what color is on here right now. Think. Oh, almost nothing. I must have put a bunch of water on it. Okay, so we want a darker, we want sort of, oh, before we do the stem, you know what? I'm just going to do a very, very, very light stem initially. I need to do a light stem just to get a positioning, okay? And then we're going to put some other leaves around it. See how this is coming off the bottom? But we're going to start with a little bit, we're going to start with what is the main stem. So now I'm holding the brush on its side. So instead of doing the tip like this, I'm doing the side and sweeping it like that. Okay. So once again, let me make sure I have what I was looking for here. And I'm going to sweep it, sweep it. So the pineapple is growing from here and I'm going to sweep it down. Okay. So that is the stem that it's growing on. But there are a couple of leaves coming out of there. And so that's what I want to do next. That's why I went with a light color. I can always darken this later, but I wanted a light color just to start with. Okay, so now we've got a couple of leaves that are coming out here from the pineapple plant, right from the base of the pineapple. So what colors do we want those to be? I think we want them to be similar to the ones up top here. So I'm taking some of that light green here, but I do know that I need it. Now I want the tip of the brush to have, this is called tipping it. I want the tip of the brush to have some of this um, cerulean or what do they call it? Gamboge yellow. Okay, not enough. You see how I used up the gamboge? So let me get this out of here. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to tip it with the other one because I have it here. Let me get out the gamboge and put a little bit more. So that was color 218 that was in the set. I'm going to put a little bit more of it here because we used it to create that dark green over there with the black. All right, here we go. So let me, I actually like this little bit warmer color for what I'm doing right now. So I'm tipping it, putting the tip of it in the yellow. The rest of it is green, right? So Asian painters do this a lot where they will put a different color on the tip. So we're going to start from here and I'm going to do a leaf coming down like that. Okay. Hey, we are. Let's tip that a little bit. And I'm going to do another one that comes out this way. So I'm holding it and sort of pressing down. And as I press down, I'm doing my wrist like this and then pulling down. Okay, so I'm going to put another one out here a little bit smaller. So I'm not pressing as hard. There we go. So there's one there. And then I want a little tiny one. Let's get a little bit more yellow on here, just a little bit on the tip. And I'm going to come from here and I'm just going to do a little one right here. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the base of the pineapple. You see these right here at the base of the pineapple? That's where I'm looking right now. Okay. And then a little bit more over here. So I'm tipping it there. I have the green in the brush and I'm just putting the yellow on the tip. And now I'm going to turn the paper a little bit because I want to go in this direction over here. So I'm going to do this and then bring it out like this. There we go. Ah, lovely. Now that's four. And when Asians paint, if there's a discernible number like this, four, you're going to have to add another one and make it five because a lot of painting, a lot of Asian painting is based on odd numbers. So I, it's for me, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to only have four. So while I still have paint on my brush here, I'm going to put a little one over here, just a little one coming out this way because it's kind of behind that one. And whoop, there we go. Now what? Now I have 5. Now I'm happy. That makes me much more happy. Okay, cool. Cool. It's okay if there's white underneath there. You can always go back and add a little bit of darkening color in that point if you want to later in order to attach it, but or you don't have to. Okay, so you can see that these went right over top of where I put that light color here for the stem. Okay, because that way I can always darken the stem with another layer, but I did want these to be able to go over top of it. All right, cool. That was fun. Now we want some of these long, right? The long bits that come off of it. And so they don't need to have as much yellow in them. And actually, what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of blue in with it for fun and vary them a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow. Let's take some nice green here. The ones in the back are going to be lighter than the ones in the front. The ones in the front are going to be a little bit darker. So I've got sort of a middle green right here, right? Let's see. Boop. There's a middle green. So let's just use the middle green to sort of start with. So I'm going to bring this here. I'm trying to think of how it would go. Okay, definitely I'm going to be putting it on an angle, pressing down a little bit, and then bringing it up, okay? Ah, getting paint on me. That's okay. That's normal. Um, okay, so we're going to do one here. I'm going to skip that and then go up. Okay, so there is one of them. Duh, it didn't quite cover all of that. Okay, cool. And then what else? But wait, we got to do more. Okay, so that's behind the stem. Now, what about having one in front of the stem? So I'm going to bring one. This is the oblique. So that's where you're holding it at a steep angle like that. Okay. I'm going to move this up a little bit so maybe you can see it a little more easily. So I'm going to do it oblique and I'm going to bring it from here and I'm turning it a little bit. Okay, so this is actually where I'm going to put the grasshopper over here. Okay, so we've got our darker leaves, and as we go further back, the leaves get a little bit lighter. So I'm going to add a little bit of the lemon yellow to this, and that will lighten this green up, right? So now it's a lighter green, or I could just grab some of this spring green. That's why I love the spring green. Deek. There we go, like that. So now it's still green, but it's just slightly lighter, and I have plenty of color on here. So there's actually one that goes back behind here. And where do we want it to start from? It actually starts from way down here. Starts from down here and it comes up and it's back behind, right? So it is okay. I try to do my shapes in single strokes, but it doesn't always work. So for instance, this one, that's okay. I'm going to put a darker color on the other side. So here, we're going to grab this dark like this. Okay, so now I'm darkening it a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. And I'm going to come up this side of it here. So it's okay if your leaves have more than one color, right? Because some of the leaves are curled like this. So it makes sense to have some of the leaves with dual colors there. Okay. So there we go. I'm bringing it down and into there. All right, cool. Nice. And then with these, I want a little bit of blue on the bottom of these. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this blue. You see how I'm just like mix, 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 mix. I don't worry too much about keeping the colors separated, do I? Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of that blue right down here. Okay, nice. That's interesting. I like it. Let's do it just a little bit more like that off the page. Okay. And then I also want to do a little bit of that blue over here. So I'm just bringing it up like this. So what that'll do is that'll make it look like you've got leaves that are curling, right? And you can get it closer if you want, but I'm okay with leaving a little bit of white so that it looks like this is on top of the leaf that's behind, right? It is perfectly fine. Now, that's 3 leaves, which is an odd number, which would be fine, but I feel like we probably need no, you know what? For now, I'm gonna leave it at 3. I'm gonna leave it at 3. I can always come back later and add more if I feel like it. Right? What I do wanna do is I wanna darken this just a little bit. So I'm actually gonna grab some of the dark blue and mix it in with this green right here. So I've got green and dark blue, and I'm gonna turn this a little bit so that I can start with the dark here where there would be a shadow, all right? And then just bring that down like that. Nice. Cool. Now I've got more duplicate, like different colors there, right? Which I think is really fun. Okay. So looking good. Looking good. Now, now I would go back. I will finish this later. When I finish it later, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to darken the areas in between each one of these little spots here, right? As that's what I would do with the detail brush. Go in there and reinforce that because I want those little areas that are dark to be a little, sort of follow along with this darkness here. But and then I also later might add 2 more um, of the leaves going toward the back. But for right now, we're going to work on the um, doing the grasshopper. Okay. So let me just have a sip of water because I've been talking for a couple of hours, right? Mm, hmm. All right, there we go. So now it's grasshopper time, and I'm going to be using the bone technique. So where did I put the grasshoppers that I was doing earlier? Ah, come back here. Here it is. So that's the bone technique, meaning sort of building the skeleton out and then filling it in with a gray. And this is the boneless, meaning you're not creating a skeleton, you're just drawing the shapes. Okay. So I want to do the bone technique for my grasshopper right here. And yeah. And so, what direction do I want my grasshopper facing? I think because this is facing that way, I want my grasshopper facing this way. Okay. That way it keeps people in the center of the painting. So I'm actually not going to wash this off because I can reactivate it with a little bit of water if I want to, if I need more of that color. So I'm actually just setting it. See, I have my brush rest over here. So I'm just setting it on my brush rest. And I think we're going to use this brush. This is a Fumui brush, number 3, Asian brush. And I like these. Fumui has a set, I think if it's a set of 3 or 4 of these detail brushes, and they work really well. I like them. I like them a lot. Okay, so we are going to start with what color? What color are we going to do this little guy? Plus, you see how in the picture here it's looking that way? So that makes it easier for me to follow along with nature right there. And let me see, I am going to go back to the black. So let me grab the black that I had earlier. I had like a blackish gray. Sorry, I don't want to get it on the painting by accident. So I'm getting some of the ink on there, and then let's see how it looks. So it looks like a dark gray. That's fine. The dark gray is good. Let's move this green out of the way and bring the black right there. Ooh, this is going to be fun. So let me get back to this guy right here. Oh, I'm actually just going to look at this picture right here, the same picture, but I want to make this grasshopper, right? Can you see it pretty clearly there? So let me move this up because I want to be sure we're working toward the bottom of the painting. So hold on. Let me move a few things around so that I can move you up and then you can see a little bit better. Ooh, come on. There we go. Now you'll be able to see when I'm working right here a little bit better. And let's move you over just a little bit. Nice. Okay, right here, we're going to do a little grasshopper. So let's see, where do I want to start with this grasshopper? I want to do the little antenna. So I'm going to start with the little antenna here, right? We got the antenna, and we're going to have the little head that's coming down like this. And then we have a leg. We've got a little leg. So I'm just following along with my picture. I've got a little leg that comes out here. And then I've got another little leg that comes out here and has like a little, there we go. So we've got the head here, we've got the little legs, and then there's it goes down like this and up, right? On the back right there. And then we've got right behind this leg, we've got another leg that comes up and goes out like this with the little foot on it, right? And then we've got this that comes down like this. So that's toward the back of it. I got this comes here. So that's the little, when I say bone, that's what I mean. We're sort of building a little skeleton. And then we're going to add the big back legs. See the big back legs here? So we're going to add the big back legs. So this one comes from here. Hold on a second. Okay. So it's going to come from here. We want a big old back leg, comes up and then down, and then the little foot there. Oh, look, it is a grasshopper. And then the other leg comes up just a little bit higher. And then it also comes down like that behind it. Okay. So we've got a little grasshopper there. So there's the little grasshopper. Now what I'm going to try to do is I want a little bit of the body. So the body has these little marks on it. And that's what I'm doing is I'm adding in, since I have my detail brush, I can add in the little marks. And then here too, we have little marks. So instead of filling in the grasshopper with color, I'm just putting a few lines because I don't want to lose the legs, right? We want to keep the little legs there and we want the little dots. Now on the back of the back legs, there are little hairs. So I'm using the really tiny brush here, right? And I'm just adding little hairs on the back of the leg like this. And little hairs right here on the back of the leg. There we go. And the little dots on its feet. Little dots on the feet here. There we go. Okay, so we have a grasshopper. We have a grasshopper there. All right, awesome. So that is it for this part of the demonstration. Like I said, I will probably come back later. I'll darken the little parts in between the little sections of the pineapple, and then I'll add another leaf or two in the background over here. Of course, I need to sign it down here once I'm done, down in the corner underneath. And this paint is re-wettable. Hey, Desert Diver, welcome in over on Whatnot. This paint is re-wettable, this Chinese colors. So I will just leave them in the trays like this to dry, separately laid out and let them dry. And then I'll be able to come back to them later and re-wet them with a little spray of water. So that's what I do. I just spray them with water. And then that way they will come back to life for me. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, the pineapple and um, the grasshopper are uh, symbols in Chinese folklore of prosperity and good fortune. The pineapple is successful beginnings, and the um, grasshopper is also longevity and high fertility. And Lordy knows I have tons of these out on my pineapple plants right now. So I understand that. Oh my gosh. Well, that was fun. I can't wait to finish this, but I am going to finish the painting off camera. But you can see here, you see how some of the paint comes through on the back, just a little bit. This is the thicker paper, and but it's still it's pretty wet back here. So that's why you do this work on top of a piece of felt or any other little piece of fabric. It works great. And I want to thank you for joining me for this fun workshop.